Let's go drift it.
Hey guys, I'm the Drifting Dad, and today I wanted to show you a little bit of the setup that I run on my FB RX7 drift car. A lot of what I've done is custom on this car. I've got the FC knuckles and custom low control arms, and then the 48.8 with the custom 4-link rear suspension. A lot of this is done because the FB has a number of limitations from the factory. Notably, the rear geometry is not very good for either drifting or road racing in general. And actually the factory Mazda stuff, they did quite a bit of modifications to make the cars competitive. So one of the first things I did was get more steering angle on the car. And to do that, originally I was using cut knuckles and extended control arms, the stock FB knuckles. And I do still do those from time to time for some people, and that netted maybe a little over 45 degrees of angle. I had the lower control arms on the front extended about 2 inches, and that works okay, but once you go to like a much wider tire beyond like a 205, you're going to run into major rubbing issues. Here's my setup currently, and this is the FC knuckle, and I've got custom lower control arms. Let me turn this and get some more. So here you can see a better shot. I've got a Heim joint or a spherical bearing, and I'm actually not using the pinch bolts. Well, I'm gonna try out not using the pinch bolts, but this gets me at least like 60, 65 degrees of angle somewhere, and I can clear a 17-inch wheel with a 215 on it, and these arms are 4 inches wider than stock. Here's a better shot of the low control arms. You can see here I've got the stock tension rod still. I can use those clears without rubbing, and you can see I've got the maximum amount of caster allowed with basically the control arm is rubbing on the subframe at this point. So what you want to do here is just you tighten that bolt up all the way, or as much as you can until basically it rubs there, and that gives you the maximum amount of caster. Unfortunately, these are just like camber plates in one direction. I'll show you those. So I just have those adjusted for the most positive camber so that I get decent tuck on the wheels. Actually, sorry, I think they're negative camber, but we'll take a look. See here, there's camber adjustment bolt as well. This is kind of pulled because this got damaged in my incident at VIR, which I will probably fix at some point. You can see here, I've got the ISC front coilovers, and these are actually the coilovers from an FC RX7. I modified the upper top hats, or not the top hats, I modified the chassis so that it would fit the FC top hats. You just have to file and drill, make the hole a little slotted. But you can see I've got these adjusted for maximum positive camber. And that's basically to get the wheel nice and flat, because I have such a wider control arm. If I was running too much negative camber when I'm at full lock, I would actually not have enough contact patch. So basically the wheel would be tilted more instead of basically, it's very close to flat here. This is full lock on the trailing wheel, and you see here it does have some camber, but ideally you would want this tire as flat as possible so you get the most amount of front grip. Your steering is going to make changes. It's easier to make corrections to your line when you have a flat contact patch, basically maximum grip on the front tires. So these are actually the softest springs, and I've got the dampening set full soft. I like a nice compliant car, not something that's super jarring, because if you don't have any compliance, you're not going, when you go over bumps and stuff, you're going to be losing grip. Plus the front, I like to have as much grip as I can. And when you stiffen the front, you're going to have less roll, obviously, but you're also going to have a really, or you're going to start to lose grip if you get too tight. The one change that I could make is to relocate this with like a custom or like a drop piece that would make it basically allow me to run this in this position, like the coilover in this position, that would get me the most amount of caster as well. I'm not exactly sure how much caster I have in here, but it's definitely not as much as I did with my old FB setup. And part of the reason I do that is because I have caster trail built into knuckles, which I explained to you earlier. And this setup actually drives insanely well. I really like how it works. One other thing is I'm actually not running the front sway bar at all. I know that it would probably be better if I did, but due to geometry constraints, I'm not right now. Basically, the stock sway bar mounting points, I would be running the tires into the sway bar at way less of an angle. So if you are going to try to get like towards 50 degrees angle or above, you probably cannot run the stock sway bar. And this is the rear suspension. It's very hard to see, but I've got a Ford 8.8 in here with custom axle brackets, custom geometry that I have in some other videos. And you can see here, I've got a pan-hard bar. It's kind of hard to see because it's black. But I do run a pan-hard bar, and basically the chassis mount is the Watts Link mount on the right side of the car. And I've had good success so far, no failures. Again, I'm not running a sway bar because of geometry constraints. And honestly, if I do take the time to weld on the sway bar brackets, I probably could run one, no problem. And I may investigate that, but a sway bar, all the sway bar does at this point is just stiffen up the rear end more and going to reduce my grip level. And the way it is now, I mean, I am running a 225 or 235 tire, but I mean, I'm running the PSI tire pressure so low that I don't think a sway bar would really help me at all. You can see I've got adjustable links too, so I can adjust the anti-squat. Last time I went drifting at the Spirit event, the night tailgate, I ran 20 to 25 PSI, and actually that worked really well. So I definitely like the lower pressure. I'm going to try an even grippier tire next time because I did have some issues with the cheaper all-season tires. Here, because I had to run such a low pressure, tire pressure, the sidewall started to fold over, and you can see I have a lot of wear on the sidewall. And if I kept running like this, I would just blow the sidewall of the tire out, and that would obviously not be good. My setup, I've got the 3-inch wider Clinched fender flares, which are great and they're super durable. And this allows me to run a 17x9 in the rear and a 17x8.5 in the front. And I think that's crucial in getting their grip levels up. I was kind of limited with the 15s, and I would have loved to stay 15s, but there's just not a lot of tires that were available a couple of years ago or last year in anything bigger than a 205. So I've stepped up to the 17s, and I'm running the 215 in the front and a 225 or 235 in the rear. I'm probably going to try to go to a 235, 245 in the rear and keep the fronts the 215. I cannot go any wider in the front because I'll start rowing on stuff. You can see here I'm pretty close to the tie rod, or to this, tension rod on the front, and you can see actually there's some wear from the tension rod and the tire contacting. So obviously I can't go to a wider tire at all, unfortunately. So this is a 215 Federal SS 595. No, sorry, 595 RS R, and that tire, I love it. It's got great grip, and I'm definitely going to keep using these as fronts, and I may even try them in the rear. One thing on the front, so I do run some toe out, a very slight amount, and I think that helps in with turn and feel as well. In the rear, obviously it's not adjustable, so you do have limitations where some of the cars with multi-link are going to have an advantage because they can put more toe in for more grip. I just have to be able to lower pressure or go to a more aggressive compound. So that's pretty much the setup in my car. Please let me know if you've got any questions. Love to answer questions on my setup or any tips on setup for drifting. I've definitely drifted this car from basically fully stock to where it is now. So I've tried a lot of different things, and if someone wants any info, I'll be happy to share it.